Story number 1. Whispers from the Past, a Halloween Nightmare. Suburban Texas. I remember it like it was yesterday, the crisp fall air biting my face as I drove our rented car through the winding roads. I'm James, a tourist from out of state with my friend, Sarah. We were looking forward to exploring Texas, and Halloween seemed like the perfect time. As we talked about our plans for the night, a blur of fur darted across the road. A deer, perhaps? Startled, I swerved, the tires screeching, and the car slammed into a tree. We were shaken, our belongings scattered. Through the haze of the accident, an old dairy loomed in the distance. With our car in no condition to continue, we decided to head there for shelter. Sarah had some abrasions, so while we settled in the dairy, I headed to town to find a medic. I met Dr. Mitchell, a man with gray hair and sagely eyes, who was intrigued by our decision to stay in the old dairy. As he treated Sarah's wounds, he mentioned an acquaintance, Officer Martinez, who might have some insights into the history of that place. Our night in the dairy was unsettling. Eerie whispers surrounded us, and ghostly apparitions peered from the shadows. We could hear the clinking of chains and distant cries, reminding us it was Halloween. Intrigued and terrified, we decided to investigate the next morning. We visited Officer Martinez. The seasoned officer revealed a harrowing story from decades ago, of a fatal bus accident right by the old dairy. Many had died, their souls rumored to haunt the stretch of road, causing further accidents to those unaware. Dr. Mitchell and Officer Martinez accompanied us to the dairy that evening. With their local knowledge and our first-hand experience, we hoped to find more answers. Old newspaper articles showed a pattern. Every Halloween, the ghosts' activity peaked. Drivers reported seeing apparitions on the road, which led to accidents. That night, by the old dairy, we saw them. Spectral figures of children, adults, and the elderly, all victims of the past, trapped in an endless cycle of horror. Officer Martinez, in an attempt to help, set up road signs warning drivers of the haunted stretch. We spent the night, and as dawn approached, the spirits seemed to recognize our efforts. One by one, they approached us, their faces contorted in pain and anguish, yet grateful. They shared their stories, their regrets, and in a burst of light, vanished. The next day, as we left the dairy behind, the atmosphere felt lighter. Dr. Mitchell and Officer Martinez thanked us, saying the hauntings would probably diminish. To this day, Sarah and I often reminisce about that Halloween in Texas. The fear, the revelations, the ghosts. But most importantly, the realization that sometimes, all trapped souls need is acknowledgement and a chance to share their story. Story number 2. Echoes from the Factory, a Sausage Specter's Tale. Suburban New York. The cold wind howled, and the leaves rustled ominously as I drove down the dark road. My name is Leo, and with me was my fellow student, Mia. Eager to celebrate Halloween, we'd embarked on a road trip, but nothing prepared us for the nightmare ahead. Amidst our laughter and stories, a ghostly figure abruptly appeared in our headlights, a spectral child, its eyes vacant and mouth agape. Terrified, I swerved, crashing the car into a nearby tree. The car was damaged, and the old sausage factory loomed in the distance, its silhouette eerie in the dim moonlight. Given the hour, we decided to seek shelter there. Inside, the air was thick with an ancient mustiness, a stark reminder of its long abandonment. As we settled, Mia's ankle swelled, and her arm bore bruises. Recalling a local clinic, I ventured out, leaving Mia behind with a promise to return soon. At the clinic, I met Nurse Valerie, who looked at me with an almost knowing glance when I mentioned the sausage factory. As she tended to my minor injuries, she introduced me to her friend, Professor Jacob, a historian with a penchant for the macabre. The two told tales of the sausage factory being the site of a devastating accident years ago. Workers, trapped in a machine malfunction, met tragic ends. Their souls, it was said, haunted the nearby roads, leading to numerous unexplained accidents. Back at the factory, the paranormal was palpable. Ethereal figures roamed the woods, their mournful cries echoing. Ghostly workers with mangled bodies, their uniforms stained, made fleeting appearances, reminding us of the terror of that bygone event. Nurse Valerie and Professor Jacob joined us in our makeshift camp, armed with salt, sage, and historical records. As we pored over old articles and blueprints, we stumbled upon a revelation, a sealed chamber, its existence hidden, believed to be the epicenter of the accident. The four of us, driven by a mix of fear and determination, decided to access this chamber, hoping to lay the trapped spirits to rest. We recited incantations, combined with sage burning, to cleanse the place. As the clock neared midnight, the chamber's entrance became visible. Inside, time seemed to have frozen. Distorted shadows danced on the walls, recreating the tragic incident. The spirits, sensing our presence, began sharing their anguish, their unfulfilled dreams, and their longing for closure. Empathetic and filled with a newfound respect, we held a makeshift memorial, acknowledging each worker and promising to remember them. By dawn, the spectral figures, with gratitude in their eyes, started dissipating, leaving the factory in an unsettling silence. As Mia and I left, the weight of our experiences pressing down on us, Nurse Valerie and Professor Jacob thanked us, hopeful that the hauntings would cease. Years later, Mia and I often recalled that fateful Halloween night. The terror, the revelations, the spirits. And the profound understanding that sometimes, all the restless need is a moment of acknowledgement and a touch of compassion. Story number 3. Shadows of the Corn Mill, a spirited encounter. Suburban Los Angeles. The memories of that Halloween still haunt me, every shadow and whisper, imprinted forever in my mind. I'm Jake, and I was a high school senior then. Alongside me was my best friend, Cassie. That night, we were off to a Halloween party, the kind every high schooler looked forward to. The evening was alive with youthful exuberance when, out of nowhere, a massive rock tumbled down from the mountain, directly into our path. I swerved desperately, our car skidding off the road. Thankfully, we were unharmed, save for a few scratches and bruises. But there, nestled in the dense trees, was the silhouette of an old corn mill, seemingly forgotten by time. With the car damaged and the party miles away, we decided to take shelter in the mill. The atmosphere inside was stifling, the darkness pierced only by the pale glow of our flashlights. Soon, I felt the need to get medical attention for Cassie's injuries. I remembered a local clinic not far from the mill. There, I met Dr. Helen, a compassionate woman with a deep interest in the supernatural. When I mentioned our shelter for the night, her eyes widened, and she quickly introduced me to her friend, Mr. Paul, a historian with extensive knowledge about the area. As Cassie received treatment, they shared a harrowing tale of a catastrophic accident at the corn mill decades ago. A machinery malfunction had trapped several workers, leading to numerous fatalities. The spirits of those lost were said to linger, haunting the nearby roads and causing unexplained accidents. Returning to the mill, Cassie and I felt a palpable tension in the air. Ghostly apparitions darted amongst the trees. The disembodied voices of the trapped workers echoed through the mill, their sorrowful lamentations reminding us of the tragic history of the place. With Dr. Helen's expertise in the paranormal and Mr. Paul's historical knowledge, we decided to investigate further. Among the mill's ruins, we discovered old diaries and letters of the workers. Their words painted a picture of lives cut short, dreams unfulfilled, and families torn apart. Using a combination of old rituals and modern techniques, we attempted to communicate with the spirits, seeking a way to free them from their eternal torment. As the witching hour approached, the spirits grew more restless, their cries growing louder and more desperate. With the support of Dr. Helen and Mr. Paul, Cassie and I managed to piece together the events of that fateful day. We held a solemn ceremony, honoring the memories of the deceased, acknowledging their sacrifices, and promising to keep their stories alive. As dawn broke, the restless spirits, with tears in their ethereal eyes, reached out to us, their gratitude palpable. With a blinding flash, they disappeared, leaving behind an eerie silence. That Halloween night forever changed us. The terror, the revelations, the spirits. But above all, it taught us the importance of remembering, honoring, and giving peace to the lost souls of the past. And every Halloween since, Cassie and I light a candle in their memory, ensuring they are never forgotten. Story number 4. Ghosts of the Dairy, the San Francisco Secret of 2004. A suburb of San Francisco. The haunting memory of that Halloween night is etched in my soul, an indelible mark that no time can erase. My name is Alex. Alongside me on that unforeseen adventure was my partner, Clara. The evening had started simply enough. I was driving, Clara controlling the music, when suddenly, a fleeting shadow, perhaps a fox, dashed in front of our vehicle. Heart pounding, I swerved, and the next thing we knew, our car was nestled against a tree, the old dairy silhouette looming ominously in the backdrop. Despite the accident's shock, we counted ourselves lucky to be largely unscathed. Deciding to take shelter in the dairy for the night, we gathered our belongings. But as Clara's discomfort from a bruised shoulder became evident, I remembered a local medic, Dr. Roberts, who resided nearby. At Dr. Roberts' clinic, we met Mr. Desmond, a historian engrossed in the local tales and legends. As Dr. Roberts tended to Clara, our offhand mention of the dairy piqued Mr. Desmond's interest. The room's atmosphere changed as he spun a chilling tale. Decades ago, a bus, filled with workers heading to the dairy, met with a horrific accident, leading to numerous fatalities. Ever since, the souls of the deceased were believed to haunt the vicinity, causing inexplicable accidents. Returning to the dairy, the weight of the story bore down on us. As night deepened, spectral apparitions began to manifest. Whispers filled the air, shadows played tricks on our eyes, and ghostly workers from the past wandered the woods, their faces a reflection of the tragedy they had endured. Dr. Roberts and Mr. Desmond, driven by concern and curiosity, joined us in our quest for understanding. With Mr. Desmond's vast knowledge and Dr. Roberts' occasional encounters with past victims' families, we pieced together the accident's tragic details. Seeking to bring solace to these restless spirits, we held a vigil, paying our respects and acknowledging their untimely deaths. As we shared stories, sang old lullabies, and lit candles in their memory, the atmosphere began to shift. The apparitions drew closer, their sorrow evident, but also a glimmer of hope. By the break of dawn, a profound stillness enveloped the dairy. The restless souls, it seemed, had found a measure of peace. The events of that night forever changed Clara and me. The haunting memories, the deep sadness, the spirits that reached out from beyond. But amidst it all was a lesson about the power of acknowledgement and the importance of remembering. Today, every Halloween, we revisit that dairy, lighting candles and ensuring that the stories of those lost souls are never forgotten. Story number 5. The Sausage Factory Specters, Hauntings of Miami 2005. A suburb of Miami. The events of that Halloween remain as vivid as if they transpired yesterday. My name is Travis, and my college friend, Jenna, was with me that fateful night. Our plan was simple: drive around, enjoy the Halloween festivities, and create college memories. As I was driving, the warm Miami night felt vibrant. However, the levity was short-lived. A chilling apparition, a translucent figure of a man, suddenly appeared before our car. I swerved in panic, narrowly missing a tree but damaging our car in the process. With the night deepening and a sense of unease in the air, we sought refuge in a nearby structure, which turned out to be an old sausage factory. Inside, the atmosphere was oppressive, remnants of its past evident in every corner. As Jenna complained of pain from a bruised rib, I recalled a clinic nearby, headed by Dr. Lorraine, known for her expertise and kindness. At the clinic, we crossed paths with Mr. Carlos, an elderly gentleman and a historian of local lore. As Jenna received care, our casual mention of the sausage factory saw Mr. Carlos's demeanor change. He began narrating a tale of a distant past, a catastrophic fire at the factory, trapping numerous workers, their cries for help lost in the roaring flames. The aftermath saw the factory abandoned, but legends whispered of lost souls haunting the vicinity, leading to unexplained mishaps and accidents. Returning to the factory, the weight of Mr. Carlos's words began to manifest. Ethereal figures, burned, disfigured, and clearly from another era, wandered the grounds. Their cries of anguish, pleas for help, and eerie lullabies filled the night air, underscoring the terror of that long-ago tragedy. Armed with Dr. Lorraine's knowledge of local rituals and Mr. Carlos's historical insights, Jenna and I decided to delve deeper. Amidst old factory records and workers' personal belongings, we unearthed a chilling fact. A majority of those who perished had been trapped in the factory's basement, their escape routes blocked. Resolute, we conducted a makeshift seance, hoping to offer solace and closure to these trapped spirits. As the night progressed, the ghosts grew more vivid, their stories more heart-wrenching, each seeking release from their eternal torment. With dawn approaching, and after a series of rituals, a profound stillness settled. The restless souls, it seemed, had found some semblance of peace. That Halloween altered the trajectory of Jenna's and my life. The terror, the revelations, the tormented souls, all served as a stark reminder of the past's undeniable grip on the present. And every year since, on Halloween night, we light a candle at the old sausage factory, honoring those souls and ensuring their stories continue to be told. Story number 6. Echoes of the Orlando Mill, The Haunting of 2006. Orlando Suburbs. The haunting memories from that night play vividly in my mind, like an old film on repeat, always culminating in a chilling climax. My name is Eric, and I was a high school senior. Beside me was my lifelong friend, Lucy, both of us eager to celebrate Halloween with our peers. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, our laughter filling the car, when suddenly a massive rock came tumbling down the mountain. Heart in my throat, I swerved, avoiding a direct hit, but the car collided with a guardrail. As we assessed the situation, the looming silhouette of an old corn mill emerged from the surrounding woods, seemingly beckoning us. The mill's interior, though dusty and time-worn, provided a refuge from the biting cold outside. As we settled in, Lucy complained of a sharp pain in her leg. Recalling a nearby clinic run by Dr. Foster, I insisted we get her checked out. Upon our arrival, we were introduced to Ms. Nadine, a local historian, who was visiting Dr. Foster for her annual checkup. When we recounted our ordeal and mentioned the corn mill, Ms. Nadine's face turned ashen. Over a warm cup of tea, she narrated the mill's tragic history. Decades ago, it was the site of a catastrophic collapse, trapping and killing many workers. Ever since, their souls were rumored to haunt the vicinity, leading to mysterious accidents. Returning to the mill, reality mirrored the tales we'd heard. Spectral figures of workers, trapped in time, wandered the woods, their anguish palpable. Their ghostly lamentations filled the air, a grim reminder of the tragedy that had befallen them. With Dr. Foster's medical expertise and Ms. Nadine's vast historical knowledge, Lucy and I decided to delve deeper. We discovered old letters, journal entries, and faded photographs, each piece providing a glimpse into the lives of those who had perished. Determined to bring solace to these restless souls, we held a candlelit vigil, offering our respects and acknowledging their untimely demise. The atmosphere grew thick with emotion as the spirits drew closer, their stories unfolding in front of our eyes. As dawn approached, with the guidance of our newfound allies, we conducted a ritual to free these souls, allowing them to find the peace they so desperately sought. The events of that Halloween night forever changed Lucy and me. The terror, the spectral encounters, the undeniable connection to the past, all served as a reminder of life's fragility and the importance of remembrance. Today, every Halloween, Lucy and I return to that mill, lighting candles and ensuring the stories of those lost souls remain alive, a testament to their indomitable spirit. Story number 7. Dark Secrets of the Dairy, the Las Vegas haunting of 2007. Suburban Las Vegas. The memories of that Halloween night still send shivers down my spine. My name's Daniel, and I was traveling with my girlfriend, Anna. We were tourists, eager to explore the lesser-known parts of Las Vegas. As Anna and I drove, exchanging stories and dreams, a sudden blur, a coyote perhaps, darted in front of our car. In an instinctual move, I swerved, narrowly avoiding the animal but crashing our car into a roadside barrier. Amidst the dim twilight, the silhouette of an old dairy beckoned, providing a semblance of safety. Within the dairy's confines, the weight of its history pressed down upon us. As we made a makeshift bed, Anna's wrist seemed to swell, prompting us to seek medical attention. Remembering a local clinic in the vicinity, we headed out. At the clinic, Dr. Ellison, a soft-spoken yet attentive physician, treated Anna. Our story caught the attention of Mr. Bryce, a retired police officer with a deep knowledge of the area's history. Over hot coffee, he recounted a harrowing tale. Years ago, the dairy was the scene of a tragic accident. A gas leak led to a catastrophic explosion, leaving many dead. Their spirits, it was believed, roamed the nearby roads, causing numerous accidents over the years. Returning to the dairy, Dr. Ellison's medical insights and Mr. Bryce's knowledge became invaluable. The atmosphere turned eerie, the quiet punctuated by distant cries and spectral appearances. Ghostly figures roamed, their features etched in pain, reminding us of the tragedy that had befallen them. Using a combination of old police records brought by Mr. Bryce and Dr. Ellison's understanding of local rituals, Anna and I began our investigation. We unearthed letters, photographs, and personal items, each echoing the stories of those lost in the accident. Determined to bring closure to these wandering souls, we held a memorial, honoring their lives and acknowledging their untimely deaths. As the night deepened, the spectral figures grew clearer, their tales of pain, love, and loss unfolding before our eyes. By dawn, after a series of rituals and an outpouring of emotions, the restless spirits seemed appeased. With a collective sigh, they faded away, leaving the dairy bathed in the golden light of dawn. That Halloween profoundly impacted Anna and me. The encounters, the revelations, the bridging of the past and present, all served as a reminder of life's fleeting nature and the importance of remembering and honoring those who came before us. Now, every year on Halloween, we return to that dairy, lighting candles and ensuring that the memories of those lost souls are forever etched in the annals of time. Story number 8. Whispers of the Factory, The Honolulu Haunting of 2008. A suburb of Honolulu. The echoes from that eerie Halloween night continue to reverberate in my mind. I'm Jamie, and that night, I was accompanied by my college roommate, Nina. Our anticipation for the Halloween festivities was palpable as we drove, chatting animatedly about our plans. Suddenly, a fleeting silhouette, transparent and ghastly, appeared before us. Heart racing, I swerved, barely missing the apparition, but in doing so, we crashed against the signpost. As we took stock of our situation, the looming form of an old sausage factory emerged from the dark surroundings, offering an unexpected refuge. Inside, the factory felt heavy with the weight of untold stories, the rusted equipment and dusty air hinting at a time long gone. But as Nina complained of a strained ankle, I remembered Dr. Kamana, a trusted local physician with a clinic not too far away. Arriving at the clinic, our tale caught the ear of Mrs. Leilani, a respected elder and guardian of the island's lore. While Nina was treated, over a warm cup of herbal tea, Mrs. Leilani shared a chilling account. Decades ago, the factory was the site of a devastating accident, a machinery malfunction that claimed numerous lives. The spirits of those who perished, it was said, lingered, causing strange occurrences and accidents in the vicinity. With trepidation, we returned to the factory. Guided by Dr. Kamana's medical insights and Mrs. Leilani's wealth of knowledge, we delved deeper into the mysteries of the factory. As the night wore on, ghostly apparitions, former factory workers trapped in time, began to emerge. Their mournful cries and ethereal presence served as harrowing reminders of the tragic past. Dr. Kamana and Mrs. Leilani, feeling a deep responsibility to the spirits and the island's history, helped us in our quest. We uncovered old factory logs, letters, and even personal effects that shed light on the lives of those lost. Their stories, of dreams, families, and aspirations, came alive in the haunting atmosphere. Seeking closure for these restless souls, we conducted a traditional Hawaiian ceremony, paying our respects and asking for forgiveness. As dawn approached, a profound sense of peace enveloped the factory, the once restless spirits seemingly finding solace. The events of that Halloween forever imprinted on Nina and me. The encounters, the revelations, the heart-wrenching tales from the past, all underscored the importance of remembrance and respect for those who came before. Today, every Halloween, Nina and I, with leis in hand, return to that old sausage factory, honoring the memories of those lost and ensuring their tales continue to resonate through time. Story number 9. Shadows of the Mill, the D.C. Chronicles of 2009. Suburban Washington, D.C. Each time I revisit that chilling Halloween night in my mind, my heart races, and a cold shiver runs down my spine. My name's Sam, and alongside me on that dreaded drive was my high school mate, Elle. Our laughter filled the car, our conversation steered by the upcoming school dance, when a massive boulder dislodged from the mountain and hurtled towards us. With a quick reflex, I swerved, narrowly avoiding a direct collision, but our car skidded off the road. Seeking refuge from the biting wind and growing darkness, we spotted an old corn mill nearby and decided to shelter there. Inside, the weight of the mill's history was palpable, every rusted gear and cobwebbed corner echoing tales from the past. As we settled, Elle's forehead started to swell from an earlier knock. I recalled Dr. Montgomery, a renowned local physician, who lived just a few miles away. Reaching Dr. Montgomery's place, we were introduced to Mrs. Whitaker, a historian specializing in local folklore. As Elle received medical attention, our casual conversation about the corn mill turned grave. Mrs. Whitaker recounted a tragic tale. Many years ago, the mill was the epicenter of a devastating flood, resulting in countless deaths. Those unfortunate souls, it was whispered, haunted the region, causing enigmatic mishaps. Returning to the mill, Dr. Montgomery's medical expertise, combined with Mrs. Whitaker's in-depth historical knowledge, became indispensable. As night deepened, ethereal figures began manifesting around us. Workers, families, children, spirits from a bygone era, their anguish evident in every mournful cry and whisper. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, with guidance from our newfound allies, we began our investigation. Amidst old logs, faded letters, and personal items, we pieced together the heartbreaking narrative of that fateful night when the flood claimed numerous lives. Hoping to bring some semblance of peace, we held a vigil, honoring the memories of the lost souls and acknowledging their tragic end. As we chanted, sang, and lit candles, the once restless spirits seemed to find solace, their apparitions growing fainter with each passing hour. By the break of dawn, the mill stood silent, its once tormented souls seemingly finding the peace they had long sought. The events of that Halloween changed the course of Els and my life. The apparitions, the shared grief, the bond formed with spirits from the past, all underlined the intricate tapestry of life and death. Today, each Halloween, Elle and I return to that old corn mill, lighting candles, ensuring that the stories of those lost souls continue to be told, and the lessons from the past are never forgotten. Story number 10. Mysteries of the Midwest, the Chicago Chronicles of 2010. A suburb of Chicago. That Halloween night remains etched in my memory, its chilling events replaying every time the season rolls around. I'm Luke, and on that evening, I was exploring the Midwest with my girlfriend, Clara. Our journey had been filled with laughter and wonder until, out of the darkness, a raccoon darted in front of our car. Heart pounding, I swerved to avoid it, but in the process, our car grazed a tree. Assessing our surroundings, the silhouette of an old dairy stood a short distance away, promising shelter. Within its walls, the eerie stillness was unsettling, yet we found a corner and tried to rest. As we settled, Clara noticed a gash on her arm. Thankfully, I remembered a local medic, Dr. Henderson, who ran a small clinic nearby. Upon reaching his clinic, we met Mrs. Dahlia, a librarian passionate about local history. As Clara was tended to, our conversation steered towards the old dairy. Mrs. Dahlia's demeanor shifted. Over warm beverages, she narrated a grim tale. Decades prior, the dairy was the epicenter of a massive fire. Many were trapped, their screams lost amidst the raging flames. Rumors suggested that their restless spirits haunted the dairy and the surrounding roads, causing unexplained disturbances. Armed with this knowledge, we returned to the dairy apprehension building. As darkness enveloped the area, ghostly figures began to emerge from the shadows. Workers, children, and animals, spectral remnants of that disastrous day, their pain evident in every whisper and movement. With Dr. Henderson's guidance and Mrs. Dahlia's exhaustive knowledge, we embarked on an investigation. Sifting through old records, photographs, and remnants from the dairy's active days, we pieced together the tragic events of the fire and its aftermath. Hoping to offer some form of solace to these trapped souls, we conducted a vigil. Candles were lit, songs were sung, and stories were shared, all in honor of those lost to the fire. As dawn approached, the restless spirits, perhaps feeling acknowledged and remembered, began to fade, leaving the dairy bathed in the soft morning glow. The events of that Halloween forever altered Clara's and my perspective on life, death, and the importance of remembrance. Today, every Halloween, we make our way back to that dairy, lighting candles and ensuring the tales of those who perished are kept alive, reminding all who visit of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. Story number 11. Specters of the Sausage Plant, the Boston haunting of 2011. Suburban Boston. The piercing shrieks, haunting apparitions, and chilling encounters of that Halloween night play vividly in my mind. I'm Ethan, and alongside me that fateful evening was my college buddy, Mia. We had planned a simple outing, reminiscing about our school days and making plans for the future. Our chatter was abruptly cut short when a translucent figure materialized before us, its ethereal presence chilling the very air. Startled, I veered sharply, our car crashing into an old signpost. As the dust settled, the looming figure of an old sausage factory appeared, offering what seemed like a safe haven for the night. The factory's atmosphere was thick with the musk of age and abandonment. But as we tried to settle down, Mia noticed a gash on her leg. Remembering Dr. Sullivan, a seasoned medic in the vicinity, we decided to get her injury checked out. On reaching Dr. Sullivan's clinic, we crossed paths with Mr. Beckett, a retired journalist with an insatiable curiosity about local lore. Upon hearing our story, he recounted a chilling tale. Decades ago, the factory was the scene of a gruesome industrial accident. A machine malfunction led to a devastating explosion, claiming the lives of several workers. The souls of these unfortunate individuals, it was whispered, lingered, haunting the area and leading to numerous mysterious accidents. Armed with this knowledge, we returned to the factory, apprehension in every step. As the night wore on, ghostly figures began to manifest, their presence a haunting testament to the past tragedy. Workers with unending pain, and echoes of screams marked their spectral parade. With Dr. Sullivan's medical insights and Mr. Beckett's investigative skills, Mia and I sought to uncover the truth. Sifting through old articles, factory logs, and even personal belongings, we pieced together the tragic events of the past. Seeking to offer closure, we conducted a candlelit vigil, honoring the memories of the departed souls, and seeking to give them the peace they had been denied. As the first rays of dawn touched the factory, the spirits, perhaps finding solace in being remembered, began to dissipate, leaving behind an eerie calm. The memories of that Halloween continued to haunt Mia and me. The apparitions, the pain, and the eventual solace have all underscored the fragile nature of life. Every Halloween, Mia and I return to that old sausage factory, ensuring the stories of the lost souls continue to be told, a grim reminder of the past and the importance of remembrance. Story number 12. Echoes from the Corn Mill, the Philadelphia Horrors of 2012. Suburbia, Philadelphia. Time has a peculiar way of muffling memories, but there are some events so visceral, so chilling, that they remain etched in clarity forever. My name is Aaron, and on that fateful Halloween night, I was with my high school friend, Zoe. The evening began ordinarily enough, music blaring, excitement about Halloween parties, discussions about the future. But everything changed when a massive boulder, dislodged from a nearby slope, hurtled towards us. Panic gripped me as I swerved, narrowly avoiding a disastrous collision. In the aftermath, the old corn mill shadow provided a beacon in the enveloping darkness, prompting us to seek shelter within its time-worn walls. Its interiors whispered tales of yesteryears, but as we tried to find comfort, Zoe's wrist began to swell due to a minor injury during the swerve. I recalled Dr. Matthews, a seasoned medic from the community, whose house was a short distance away. Upon reaching his residence, we encountered Mrs. Harrison, a local historian and retired schoolteacher. As Zoe received treatment, our account of the corn mill piqued Mrs. Harrison's interest. She began recounting a haunting tale. Years before, the mill had been the site of a catastrophic machinery accident. Several workers lost their lives, their anguished spirits said to linger, causing disturbances and anomalies. Returning to the mill, the weight of its dark history felt palpable. As midnight approached, ghostly apparitions began to manifest, spectral workers trapped in eternal torment, their anguish echoing through the chilly night. With Dr. Matthew's aid and Mrs. Harrison's vast historical knowledge, Zoe and I embarked on an investigation. Scouring old mill records, newspaper clippings, and artifacts, we pieced together the grim details of that tragic day. The tangible remnants of the past lent an even eerier authenticity to our spectral encounters. To provide some measure of peace to the restless souls, we initiated a vigil, lighting candles and paying homage to the lost workers, acknowledging their pain and seeking forgiveness for any past wrongs. As dawn broke, the spectral manifestations, perhaps pacified by our acknowledgement, began to fade, leaving behind only the whispered memories of their tortured existence. The harrowing events of that Halloween night have left an indelible mark on Zoe and me. The apparitions, the shared grief, the tangible connection to the past, all serve as a constant reminder of the fragile nature of existence. Every Halloween, Zoe and I make a solemn pilgrimage to that old corn mill, lighting candles in memory of the lost souls, ensuring their stories continue to be told, and the lessons of the past are never forgotten. Story number 13. Whispers of the Dairy, the Dallas Disturbances of 2013. Suburban Dallas. Time may have marched on, but the memories of that haunting Halloween night are as vivid as yesterday. My name's Jacob, and with me on that unpredictable journey was my fiancée, Lila. The evening began with excitement, a drive under the starlit Texan sky, recounting tales of adventures and plans for the future. Out of the blue, an elusive coyote appeared, darting across our path. Startled, I veered the car, narrowly avoiding the creature but hitting an old boundary marker. As dusk's embrace tightened, the distant silhouette of an old dairy came into view, offering sanctuary for the night. The air inside the dairy was dense with the weight of untold tales. But, as we tried to settle in, Lila's arm bore marks from the earlier jolt. I remembered Nurse Parker, who ran a community clinic nearby. Reaching Nurse Parker's, we also met Mr. Granger, a retired police detective with a knack for local mysteries. Lila's mention of the dairy made Mr. Granger's eyes widen. With a deep breath, he shared the chilling lore. Decades ago, the dairy had witnessed a fatal stampede, which had claimed several lives. These souls, he whispered, still wandered the region, particularly on nights of significance, like Halloween. Re-entering the dairy with trepidation, we soon found Mr. Granger's words to be eerily accurate. As the night deepened, spectral apparitions began to emerge from the shadows, past dairy workers, their souls trapped in an endless cycle of fear and regret. Drawing on Nurse Parker's local knowledge and Mr. Granger's investigative prowess, Lila and I dove into unraveling the events of the past. Through old news clippings, diaries, and first-hand accounts, we pieced together the harrowing events leading to the tragic stampede. Feeling a deep connection with the restless spirits, we initiated a vigil. By lighting candles, chanting, and acknowledging their plight, we aimed to offer solace to the trapped souls. As dawn's first light pierced the horizon, the once prevalent apparitions began to fade, the chilling atmosphere lifting, replaced by a somber peace. The memories of that Halloween night remain etched in Lila's and my heart. Every year, as the date approaches, we return to that old dairy, ensuring the stories of those lost are kept alive, serving as a grim reminder of the past and the intertwining of life, death, and memory. Story number 14. The Factory's Forbidden Secrets, Phoenix Nightmares of 2014. Suburban Phoenix. Even as years have flitted by, the ghastly memories of that Halloween night haven't faded. I'm Nathan, and on that hair-raising evening, I was with my best friend, Clara. We were cruising around, talking about our future college plans, when an ethereal figure appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. Startled, I swerved to avoid it, leading us to crash against a fence. Emerging from the dust and the gloaming was the old sausage factory. We decided it would be safer to spend the night there than out in the open. The factory, though derelict, echoed with the hum of untold stories. Clara's ankle had twisted in the accident, so I recalled Dr. Ross, an old family friend who had a clinic not too far from where we were. When we reached Dr. Ross, we also met Ms. Eliza, a historian with an obsession for urban legends. Our narration about the factory caught her interest. With a grim look, she began her tale. Years back, the factory was ground zero for a massive fire, caused by a machinery malfunction. The inferno claimed numerous lives, leaving behind only ashes and inconsolable families. Rumors said that those souls still haunted the grounds, especially on Halloween night. Returning to the factory was a decision we questioned. With the shadows lengthening, apparitions started taking form. The lost souls of the factory workers wandered the grounds, their spectral presence a manifestation of their undying pain. Empowered by Dr. Ross's medical insights and Ms. Eliza's historical background, Clara and I embarked on an investigative journey. Through old factory records, burnt photographs, and even EVP recordings, we unearthed the haunting past of the fire, the negligence that led to it, and the voices of those who perished. Wanting to honor the memories of the lost souls, we held a vigil. Lighting candles, playing soft music, and offering prayers, we hoped to offer them the peace they had been denied for so long. As dawn's first rays appeared, the restless spirits seemed to find solace, their once foreboding presence slowly dissolving into the mists of the morning. The harrowing experiences of that Halloween are a haunting reminder of the delicate fabric of life and death. Each year, as the day approaches, Clara and I revisit that sausage factory, ensuring the memories of the lost remain alive, a testament to history, tragedy, and the hope of redemption. Story number 15. The Shadows of San Diego, The Corn Mill Chronicles of 2015. Suburbs of San Diego. Some nights remain unforgettable, casting long, dark shadows over the sunniest of days. I'm Alex, and on one such haunting Halloween night, my childhood friend, Mia, and I faced horrors beyond our wildest nightmares. We decided on a late-night drive, the San Diego suburbs shimmering under the moonlight. Our laughter and banter were suddenly interrupted when a giant boulder, dislodged from the hillside, tumbled towards us. Instinctively, I veered the car, avoiding a direct hit. In the dim moonlight, the old corn mill silhouette seemed like a refuge. Once inside, the cold, eerie silence of the mill was a stark contrast to the joviality of earlier. Mia's hand had been bruised during our abrupt stop, so I thought of Mr. Thompson, an elderly doctor living a few miles away. On our way, we crossed paths with Mrs. Foster, a local librarian and expert on regional folklore. Our casual mention of the corn mill piqued her interest. With a sigh, she told us the tragic history of the mill. Decades prior, a malfunctioning machine had triggered a massive explosion, claiming numerous lives. Their restless spirits, she whispered, haunted the site, especially on nights like Halloween. With trepidation, we returned to the mill. As night deepened, ghostly figures emerged. The once bustling mill workers now wandered, trapped in an ethereal existence, their pain palpable. Armed with Mr. Thompson's medical advice and Mrs. Foster's vast knowledge of the mill's history, Mia and I delved deeper into the events of the catastrophic explosion. Through a blend of old documents, photographs, and personal testimonies, we unearthed the true gravity of that tragic event. Seeking to give the lost souls some semblance of peace, we conducted a makeshift memorial ceremony, lighting candles, reciting poems, and playing music from their era. As dawn's embrace approached, the spectral manifestations began their retreat. The chilling ambience lifted, making way for a poignant tranquility. The memories of that harrowing Halloween forever bind Mia and me. Annually, as October's end nears, we return to the corn mill, ensuring that the tales of the departed continue to be narrated, standing as a poignant reminder of history, sacrifice, and the thin veil separating life and death.